Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fist of Fury 6092, and today I'm just going to talk about a thing that I get a lot of things requested on, or let alone basically talking about the game itself. And in case if you're wondering, already know is a bunch of wargaming stuff, mostly tanks that I get. Yeah, I get a lot of questions saying like, what would I do if I own wargaming? Like, what would I change so much? Well, there's so much things to talk about war tanks that has some good and a lot of bad in it. I mean, there's a reason why I love this game still. I mean, don't get me wrong, as much as all the bullshit I give about their marketing and stuff like that, I don't really hate the game 100%. There's a reason why I come back to it sometimes. But there is so much things they can improve, and I'm going to start breaking down things what I would have done if I owned Wargaming. And this is probably my opinion. Now, again, these are all my opinions, so I won't. A lot of people won't agree with it. But again, it it's something that probably a lot of people need to address of how bad the game could be, and something that could be fixed. So, if Wargaming, if you're watching this, take some notes because we got a lot to talk about what you really need to fix in this game in order, in my opinion, to make it better. Okay, so the first thing I would fix is probably basically the one thing that everybody is complaining about mostly is 1 plus minus 1 matchmaking. Now, granted, yes, it is going to piss off a lot of tier 10 players because they can't get their marks up because they can't puppy kicks. And I say, too bad. Because honestly, this is ridiculous that why we don't even have that still in this game. Wargaming claims that it's supposed to be a team-based game, which is true. There is a lot of tanks in this game that needs team support, but then there's some that don't. And the problem is with this game is, yes, team supporting. Yeah, my ass. Because if you really think about this audience, you got tier 10 players that need to keep their marks going. What are they going to think they're going to be shooting? Do you think they're going to be shooting their tier 10 brothers? No. Are they going to shoot tier 9s? Possibly, if you're dumb enough to expose your armor. But be honest with you, they're going to be targeting 8s. Because 8s are the most vulnerable. They got a lot of hit points still. They got like 1,000 something. They're going to shoot you to keep their marks. No matter if you're behind people, no matter if you're behind the enemy line, not enemy line, behind your allies, behind your thing. Like, there was just one time I had an E100 I was with, and I was driving up next to him in my, what was that tank? Um, Shoot. I think it was the Nameless. Yeah, it was the Nameless. So I'm staying in the back where the E100 goes up. This Death Star comes up. Now, instead of shooting the E100 that was focusing on him, instead, he aims the gun at me and takes a lot of my hit points away. That's tier 10 players. They don't care what they're fighting against. They just want to know what tanks they can pen. And that's a huge problem to me. Why we don't have +1, -1. Because there is so much that tanks can do. And then there's so many games where a tank can do nothing. Like, say this, for example. Imagine you're in a Sherman with a small 75 millimeter cannon. And I'm talking about like the 75, millimeter cannon that you start off with. And then you get into a tier 7 game and there's nothing but Tigers. There's nothing but T-29s. There's nothing but like heavily armored tanks. I can't think of them all right now, but there's a lot of them. And imagine you had to play those games with a 75 weak Sherman that you could get killed anywhere since you're a Sherman. How are you supposed to help the team? Scout? Yeah, that's a good way to die. You don't have the speed, so why does mediums and heavies have to suffer? If you're in a light tank, of course they're going to be enjoying that because all they do is just zip, zip, zip all over the place. And already, you could just sit in the back and artillery someone before the nerf happened. And that's a huge problem because not only are you alienating half your team, but you're relying so much heavily on the higher tiers to protect you. And the problem is the higher tiers don't want to protect you half the time. Like, imagine if you had a game where it was just a Tiger or a T-29. Like, imagine they had to face heavily armored tanks and basically that you're a tier 5 and they went off in a different direction. Like, a Tiger can't frontally brawl. Like, for example, let's just give that an example right now. A Tiger can't brawl. So imagine you had to face an enemy team that had brawlers, like tier 7 brawlers. What are you going to do? You're going to rely on the tiger to help you? No, he's sitting in the back making sure you spot things. At least that's what a professional tiger player would do, since a tiger has zero armor for its tier. Like, a tiger can't block its own tier. It can block fives, it depending on which five it is, but it cannot fight against, like, its own tier, because most guns can pen through that armor. So they have to sit in the back. Meanwhile, you're in a Sherman driving forward and he's sitting in the back ready to ambush someone. You get killed because the brawlers come up and then they just attack you. And that's bullshit, in my opinion, to have high tiers. Because, again, that is so stupid. Because you're trying to get something done, you're trying to get a match thing done. So, when you're trying to get something done and you keep on getting up tiered all the time, you don't want to play the game no more. Because you're going to be always killed. Now, granted, you could be lucky and have one of those rare games where you could do something, but that's a rare that doesn't. I guarantee you that it's going to be 1 out of 50 chance that you're going to have those types of games, because everybody targets the weak ones. They get rid of them to thin the herd, and that's why we should have +1, -1 wargaming. And if I was the director of that, or let alone own the company, that would be a key thing in this game. We need 1 +-1. I don't care how much tier 10s are going to complain about it. I don't care if the marking system people are going to complain about it. It needs to be a thing. It would help everybody, and it will make every tank useful, because they can fight 1 tier up and they can actually fight it. So, now let's move on. Now, the next one I want to talk about is going to be controversial to everybody. This might split everybody's thing, of everybody's opinion. This is going to be probably blowing up my comments down below if a lot of people saw this part. So, the other thing I would change, and this is going to piss a lot of people off, making the premium rounds so expensive or switching it back to gold. Now, all you're going to be complaining or yelling at me right now saying, Fury, I need them. No, you do not. A lot of you do not. There is only a few handful of tanks I can think of that may need them, but not all of you, okay? I am sick and tired of seeing people using premium rounds with no consequences whatsoever. I've seen even one person in my friends list. I will tell you this, I've seen one person in my friends list that has a Sherman, mind you, that has nothing but APCR. He only loads premium, and that's it. So you're telling me if you see a tank you could pen with your AP to make some money, because this is a premium vehicle he has, you're telling me that you would fire the most expensive round to basically kill that thing? What's wrong with you people? Like, seriously. The whole, and this is my code of every tank I have, is literally, if you have a premium tank, the main fucking job it has is making money. Moolah. You're lions. You're not lions. I'm thinking War Thunder. You're fucking silver. You're fucking like all those other things to make money, to train your crew, to get going, buying the things you hope and desire. Excuse me, acid reflex. And the problem is, it's just like, this is a huge problem. I really think that round should not be spam willy-nilly. There should be a punishment that says you should not be spending that type of money for ammunition. So if I was the leader of the thing again, I would make premium rounds back to gold, or 3 times more expensive. Because I'm sorry, if you're going to spam nothing but that and not like learn, it's like, that's the thing. It's basically this, guys.
Use your head or you're dead.
Yeah, you're supposed to use your head. If you see a tank you can't pen, you're not supposed to engage it. Run away. Do something. Don't go in brawls willy-nilly. Have other tanks help you. Have like a protection plan. Know an escape route. You're supposed to use your head, not going, I'm going to spam my expensive round on a tank that doesn't really need it or do need it. If you have to use it, it should be a consequence round, not a round that everybody could spam willy-nilly to make money. That is ridiculous.
And why is that? Because look at tier 10 players, for example. If they're in a destroyer, that's all they load to pen you. You don't even get a chance to bounce. You don't even get a chance of surviving. They just pen you with that special, precious, fucking expensive round and say, fuck it, your armor means nothing. Now, granted, yes, I know a lot of people are going to be arguing saying, like, I need it for this tank because this pen sucks. I need it for that tank and this pen sucks. That's why I said about the 1 plus minus 1. So that way, that round was designed to face its tier or its own tier. It should not be facing 2 tiers up. So bottom line is, I would make those rounds expensive and only punish the players if they keep constantly using it, forcing them to use their heads in a game and not be like, oh, I'm going to just spam this every time I play it. No, I'm going to make you punish for that, and you should be using your head to know how to pen. That is the whole point of tanks, is to learn what is the weakness, how do you counter it, and how do you fucking defeat it. And not like, spam it with premium, give me the max pen, because that's the problem that everybody's saying. Armor doesn't exist anymore in the game. Well, it would if premium rounds were pretty much harder and harder to make anything off of. If they were losing money every time using it, then that would be good. There's a reason why they did this in the past. To make it only charge with gold or make it charge so much silver. It's because they were trying to prevent this. So that way people can use their armor against people that has mediocre pen. Now, if you get pen, that means they know your weakness. Or they have a good penning gun, that way they don't need premium. That's my point. That's how it's supposed to be. And yet everybody just spams it, and I would took that away if I was in World Tanks. Number 3. Bring back a lot of things to the game. Like, the one thing that needs to be bringing back a lot is war stories. That was a very good idea. Splitting away from the multiplayer to the single player kind of way, or co-op. I did miss that. That was actually pretty fun. I would make it probably even better to make sure it's like based on historical events or anything like that. They did that on PC, but it had a little fun to it. That's the whole point of those things. They were like fun little things. Now, for those who are young people in the tanks right now, just started this year, you wouldn't know what I'm talking about. Basically, we had like a bunch of mini stories that you could play single player or co-op with the tank they give you, and then when you beat the game, you could play whatever tank you want and play the story mode. It was a fun little way to like get away from multiplayer and enjoy things like single player and join a story based game and stuff like that. They weren't all great. There was a lot of problems with some of them, and there was a lot of things that didn't make no sense. But honestly, it would have been a nice little open thing to it than the monotonous multiplayer. I would have loved that. Or the challenges they used to do, like those special events, like the boat thing with the Tog HMS Tog, if anyone remembers that. Like, have more events and stuff. Have more things. Not this one ideal buying out so many different, like, like this Arnold and the other person basically competition thing and all this other thing. No, I mean, I understand if you want tanks and you want to just do that, that's fine. But I would like if there was more variety, and that would bring more income to the company because people want to play different things. Like, they don't want to play the same monotonous thing or same deadbeat AIs or deadbeat AIs in multiplayer. They just want to play maybe just a single player game or play a game with their co-op buddies. That was the thing I missed so much about, and if I was a developer, I would have them back. Or, basically, too, bring back all the fucking maps. There's a total of like 16 maps we don't have still. Does anyone remember the fucking, the nuclear, well, not nuclear, does anyone remember Liberty Falls? Or freaking, there's, or the Great Wall, not the Great Wall, we have the Great Wall back. But there's so many other maps that we lost. And I was just saying Liberty Falls is one of them, because I remember that one, because that's when Germany invades the US. I love that map. There were so many other ones too. I just can't remember the top of my head. Or France, for example, that French map where you're in a city and there's like a middle road and then there's like a bottom road and then over on the other side it's a big huge open area and then on the left when you look at the outskirts it's like the Eiffel Tower was there. Like what happened to those maps, Wargaming? Give us those maps back. I mean, granted, yes, not a lot of people like a lot of those maps. Well, that's the thing. Like, I'm sick and tired of seeing the same damn maps all the fucking time. I'm sick of seeing fucking like Himmelsdorf. I'm sick and tired of seeing Red Shire. I'm sick and tired of seeing all these other maps. And only Cold War gets some of the new maps, and even though they're not new anymore, but they're like, God damn, why can't we have any of those maps in World War II or in our old maps? Nope, just nope, nothing. It's just a huge waste, and honestly, I would definitely do that. So the fourth one I would change, honestly, is the commanders. The commanders need to be changed. I'm sorry, the 9 perk system was a good idea at first, but it isn't. It needs 12. At least if it was me in charge, I would have it only up to 12. So that way people could select their perks better, they can do more things better. Now, granted, many people will say, well, why not just not touch the thing commanders at all? Give it back the old ways. I could agree and disagree with Wargaming when they did that. Yes, it sucks that you lost a 32 perk crew. I'm sad too. However, though, wouldn't that be kind of broken to have a commander that has every perk in the game? Well, think about it. You have all the concealment perks, all the spotting perks, all the ridiculous fucking damage perks, block perks, track repairs, fucking commander fixing up 10 plus to everything, your reloading thing. When you're down to like last man standing, you get to reload a million times faster. Yeah, that could be a problem to people who just started the game. Now, granted, doesn't do I disagree with not having the old ways back? No. Honestly, I would keep an open mind on it. But at the same time, I can understand what they were doing for new players. But 9 perks ain't good enough for me. It has to be a little bit more. So, the other thing too I would change, this would be like number 5, I believe, would change all of the fucking tanks. Giving them buffs, giving them nerfs, giving them their things back. Like, I understand the community complains about the tanks, but that's again, you're supposed to use your head. You're supposed to outflank them, and yes, a lot of times you can't. Well, don't engage, disengage, move into a better position. Like, I don't understand. Now, I understand, like, if you're a heavy tank, you're fucked either way, because that's the job of a heavy tank player. But, again, there is so many tanks in this game are too squishy to so many guns that make no sense. Like penning a whole armor of a tiger with a fucking 10.5. In reality, trying to shoot a 10.5, which to you Americans out there, that's 105 millimeter I'm talking about, should not pen the upper plate of a Tiger 2. It should not. It should ricochet. Like, but I've seen so many tanks pen through that, and it's like, hey? Like, or the American Super Mutant. Like, thankfully it got its buff, but do you remember when it was nerfed? Every tank was able to pen that son of a bitch. And it's like, oh, no, no. And honestly, if I brought out a premium tank, it would never be nerfed. Because that is really dumb, of my opinion, if I own the game. Nerfing something that just came out. Well, here's a better idea, too. And we'll get to the market in a minute, because that's a huge thing I'm going to talk about, because that is one of the blood vessels of the game, and honestly, what I would change heavily towards. But my point is, a lot of the tanks needs to have their buffs back. A lot of tanks needs to be only a +1, -1 matchmaking. I guarantee you, if that happens, and if Wargaming's listening to this, there would be a lot of players that would come back. Because there's so many tanks. Like, for example, why the fuck is every tank in a US premium with a 90mm medium? And I'm talking about you Persians, I'm talking about any of them. Why are they fighting 10s? 90, that should be a code of a Bible. 90mm should not be fighting 10s. They're not, because not many 90mm can do anything. And I'm not talking about like shooting mediums and lights. You could do that with a 90mm fine, but you only do tickle damage, tickle damage, where they can look at you and just say, eat my asshole, and then shoot you, and then you lose like a good chunk of your health. Mind you, this is tier 10s we're talking about. They have the max health to deal with tier 10s, their own tier. So your puny little 8 won't be able to kill easily a tier 10. That's not how it works, because you don't have enough health, and even if you block some shells, you're going to have to take a while killing that thing, because your gun can only do like, what, 230, 250 a shot? Where their guns could do like 350 to 400. Mind you, you don't have a lot of health, so that's why I don't like the 1 plus minus 1. But sorry, I'm getting way off track. But having the additional armaments, their spawning things, and everything back would probably get a lot of the old players back, because honestly, there is some things that makes no sense what Penn's thing. And then granted, yes, as a business thing or anything, it makes sense that you're going to have glitches here and there. There's always going to be glitches. There's always going to be flaws, because it is a computerized game. It's not like some people are intelligently watching your game everywhere and seeing every pen, every calculation before it pens. That would be a nightmare for a business. So it makes sense why they use a computer operating RGN kind of, fucking playing the game. Not RGN, like ape, I can't say that word, forgive me. But still, I just don't, it's got to be better than that. And there's got to be some tanks that have to get there. And thankfully, they were heading in the right track. The 150 update tanks, where a lot of the tanks got their buff back. Like, a lot of people were happy with that. A lot of people got their stuff back. However, though, I just don't like the fact that, you know, it's just dumb to me. So, there's a couple other things too, but we'll get to the major one I'm going to say at the end. But the other thing I would do, definitely, is the ability to change your garage. Like, Wargaming, you did this with ships. We get to select our own ports now. Why can't we select our own garage? Dude, like, imagine if we could get our airport hangar back. Or the fucking, the, you know, the main garage. The very beginning garage. Back when, so many eons ago. Or back when, basically, we get the swamp thing. Or other, like, let us choose our garage. Or better yet, how about this, for example? Let us mod our garage. Just don't let us mod the game. Don't let us mod it. Just let us mod the garage. Do you know how many people will love to watch YouTube videos of modded garage? There's PC out there that have people have the back cave with their tanks. Yeah, an actual functional back cave that you can just like go around. I think Mighty Jingles has that too. Now, I don't remember exactly who had it, but somebody had that mod. Or somebody had Berlin, or someone had like the Soviet Union Moscow in the background. Like, why can't we have that? Like, can't we just have our own custom mod instead of sitting at these two fucksticks at the campfire just staring and talking to each other? Because this is lazy. I get it, it's supposed to represent a camp, but when it was Halloween and when it was Christmas, it looks stupid because there wasn't that much decorating done. And sorry for the art devs, I'm gonna give some shit because out of the past we had so many better. Does anyone remember the swamp thing when we were at that like jungle thing? I always make a joke that Wargaming's out of budget and we're in the jungle, but every time Halloween happened, it looked amazing. You had Cthulhu in the water, you had green waterfall, you had like all this fire tiki shit all over the place, you had all this decorations and stuff, and it's just sad to me how the fact that Wargaming went lazier and lazier with their garage selection. Just let us mod. Let us mod the garage. Even I would hate to say this, but if you allow an anime mod of a garage, God help me, I said that, I guarantee you people would be happier. People would love to do it. And it just, to me, it feels a waste of opportunity. It just feels dull, lifeless, and depressing. I know the whole game is not based around the garage, it's on the battlefield, but if you don't make the garage feel lively, how does it make you feel welcome when you come into the game? It doesn't. It just feels like a mobile app game. And I guess that's what they were trying to do with it, make it look like a mobile app garage, but I really miss the high details and the quality we used to have for our garages. just having the background environment feel so alive instead of just feeling like this, like we're in the middle of a supply depot area sitting there with these two idiots at a campfire while we're just waiting to get in a game and nothing else in the back. Like I said, it just feels like the garage is lifeless, tasteless. They focus emphasize on 3D models and, their little sugar candy girls, like those candy girls. And don't tell me they're not candy girls. Look at these girls right here. Just look at them. They're candy girls. They're just girls wearing almost barely any pants. And if they are wearing pants, it's right to their chest, sucking up and everything. I get it that some of the country's uniforms, but to me, it's just candy eye for a lot of people. And I don't mind candy eye for some people because, again, that's how they make their money. It's a dirty business, as always. But just Ugh, they focus more on that than the garage. Or better yet, if you want candy mode, candy eyes, why not just have like a garage with a bunch of girls walking around your tanks or on top of your tanks or something, anything, something different than this lazy thing. That's what I would have done. I would do that immediately if I was that thing. And now let's talk about the grand finale of the things I'd change. Like if I was the actual thing, is the store, the buying, the things that you have to involve your money. This is the thing that everybody knows me very well, how much I fought for, how much I bled blood and tears for to fight against wargaming with its marketing business. And now that I have a chance to change that, this is what I would do. And this is going to be a long list because this is the one thing that I want to change the most since wargaming is dependent on this stuff. Number one, I would change is the pricing of the tanks. Now that just probably would have summed up everything. Believe me, I know that's kind of funny just saying like that. But hear me out. Like I say so many times in these goddamn games, that this motherfucking game, or World of Warships or any wargaming game, majority of the people, nearly a good chunk of their fucking things, are mid class and low class people. So why are we charging so much money for a fucking tank? Now, granted, World War II is decreased it a lot since, World War II, but like, for example, the Nameless and the other ones came back. Why are they so expensive? I get it that they need copyright claims and they need to pay for licensing fee, but again, this is really stupid. Like, I then maybe those tanks should not exist, but then again, everybody's anime players gonna be like, "Don't say that. We want them." But again, I understand if it's a special event vehicle. I get that, but there's like tanks in this game that are eights that they almost get away with trying to charge $65 if it's new, and that is wrong. And I know everybody's gonna say, "Why don't you bring out free vehicles?" Yes, I was gonna get to that in a minute. Just hang on. But what I'm saying is these tanks need to be adapted to where it's a price range effectively. If it's just the vehicle for fuck's sake, and you're not giving me anything else, like the only reason I could see a tank being at $55 for tier 8 is you get 30 days of premium and some other things. That's it. Like, I don't see it as above $55 for premium. I don't see it like that. If you're trying to make people buy your vehicles, buy your stuff, buy your things, then we should not be charging so much of these people that are barely putting food on the table, barely have a family, that are trying to hang on and starting in this miserable life that we have today. The world outside is fucking scary wargaming. There's people with tax problems. There's people that are poor. There's people that are barely getting by. There's people that don't make enough to even go on a fucking car trip to a different place. Nobody can really afford these things. And your bright idea is to charge so much money. I get it, you need to make money. I get it, you need to make a business. But that's the problem of you wargaming. You went too big. You went too high. You hired all these people, not realizing you count the income. And honestly, if that's the case, if you have to pay your workers the reason why it's charging that much, I'm sorry. If I was the head owner of Wargaming, I would fire a lot of people. Now I know everybody's gonna say I'm a demon saying that, and everybody's gonna say like, "Oh, Fury, you're an asshole. People need jobs." But that's the problem with wargaming. If that's the case, and why everybody's charging so much money is to pay their workers, pay for the equipment, paying to run the server, paying Microsoft fees to keep it running on PC, console, or whatever, or Sony to keep it on their thing. I'm sorry, but reality is that this should not be a thing. That's why they call it budget cutting. Like getting rid of some people, getting rid of some things, so that way the marketing would not fuck with the consumers. Because I'm sorry, we shouldn't have to pay for your mistake of hiring so many people that you have to pay their wallets and stuff just because they want to help you out and you want to use them for their thing. I'm sorry, you're an arcade game. You always will be an arcade game. There's no getting around it, wargaming. You are an arcade game. So, yeah, so that's one of the major problems of the market. The other thing, too, is how much they charge for commanders. 3,000 gold for a 3-star commander. Now, I get it, yes. 3-star commanders are worth it because of how much XP. How about even make it better and keep it at the same price? Like, keep it at the same price, but have one unique perk you can't change and make it worth it. Like, have a commander, like, say, for example, that has a unique perk saying, every time you play with this commander, he increases your silver earning by 25%. Think about that. Do you know how valued that would be? Or, better yet, if anyone could find this commander useful, because I know you will, if you're the last person left alive, or you lose so many tanks every time you play a game, you increase your damage by 15%. Meaning, if your team is dying, like a lot of times they do, your damage increases. That would benefit for people that are stuck with people that die so many times. That's what I mean about commanders. If you're going to charge me so much money for a commander, have unique perks. Have like the Halloween perks commanders do something unique, like the Reaper. Like say, like for example, every time he hits something, he gets a random thing on it, like a soul grabber, or like I don't know, like he just does damage near death. I don't know, like more damage near death. I don't know. I I would have to look into that more if I was that, but I would do something for the commanders instead of charging an arm and a leg. Now, for the part that I said about the free part, well, let me tell you, I agree with you. And yes, I would say I would do some things, but not in the way you think sometimes do. Yes, I would have free tanks in an op, like they're kind of doing right now sometimes, but they would be a little bit better than it is. I mean, beforehand we were getting 8s left and right, and that's in a whole nother video why I don't agree with giving everybody 8s because of different reasons, but again, that's my opinion thing. So I would do that still. But the one thing I would change is every time when a new tank comes into the store, every time, we should have like a week's trial of playing it without paying it. What do I mean by that? Think like War Thunder's kind of way. You know how War Thunder, when you play a vehicle, you test it out, and you go into this shooting gallery to test out how far you could shoot, how good the penetration is? Well, I want to take it one step beyond that. I want to able to play on the battlefield with it. Sorry, I'm having a little acid reflex. I want to be able to go in the battle with it. See what it's like in multiplayer. To see if I want it or not. Now, granted, the one thing I would change is to make sure that everybody would be not freaking out is you don't earn nothing. You don't earn nothing, you don't make nothing, you don't make XP nothing, you don't progress in nothing. Because that's the whole point of a trial vehicle. You don't make nothing. However, though, people would be a lot happier with that. Because if people are test driving your vehicles, then they know if they want it or not. They don't have to be like, oh, I don't know if I want this. I should look up reviews. But again, I could see that being a problem because tank reviewers will be out of a business because everybody could just free trial it and then not really care about reviewers' opinions. I mean, they'll probably do videos on how to play it a little bit, but that's it. So I could see that an edged sword of doing that. But honestly, for sacrificing YouTube's thing where they can make a different video, versus the whole entire community that has to pay for a tank they don't even know but have to trust people, I'm going to lean towards the latter and say I'm going to go with the people because they deserve a chance to play your vehicle before buying the vehicle. That makes sense. Now, granted, there is so much hit and miss with the store. Like I said, if you charge so much in a store, I should have some stuff with it and stuff like that. Now, for the other things too, like the supplies and all that, I think you should have an option paying it with silver, because honestly, paying it with gold is really dumb. Because that is just really stupid how you have to pay for some supplies that basically you could get free in a season pass or whatever kind of thing. Premium I find okay because again, if you like the game and you want to earn more, that makes sense for a business practice. That's fine. But honestly, that's basically it I wanted to say. I mean, except for the fact that if a premium tank comes out, it has some earning standards, not like these fucking 9s and 10s that make absolutely nothing. Now, granted, I get it why they do it like that. They want to make sure people don't keep playing the 9s and 10s. They want you to go back to lower tiers so it balances out and flushes out the matchmaking. But that's still stupid because you just spend money on a tier 9 to just to fucking get nothing, no value, no nothing, and it's just horseshit in my opinion. So yeah, these are the major things I would probably change in World of Tanks. Have I missed stuff? Probably. And there's probably other things too, like the arty update. Like I would try to mess with that a little bit to get it back the way it was, but also satisfy things. Um, Other things like the type of tanks you fight against, like all that. But in reality, that's the community too. The community, when they pick their tanks, that's what determines what the heck they're facing against. So I can't just put like a heavy tank all the time in the front lines to protect you guys just because someone wants to play a tiger that snipes and that's your only high tier. That's video games in a nutshell. And granted, yes, is my updates gonna help the game or is it doing anything bad? I'll never know. We'll never know. But to be honest with you, it's always multiplayer like this. Every multiplayer game is going to have a good, a bad, and a really bad. There is no getting around it. Every video game that I could say for multiplayer that is common to anyone else is there's always going to be a side that's going to say it fucked the game so much I don't want to play it no more, or it did justice to the game. There is no middle ground. There is no, oh, this is balanced and everything, oh, this is good and everything. There'll never be that in a video game. And to me, this was my just take of a little taste of what I would do if I was pretty much directing and doing World Tank changes if I was ahead of World. But that's just my one man story. Let me know what you guys think. What would you do? Would you do better than me in World of Tanks? Would you change something that I miss? I would like to know in the comments. I really do, because it would be nice to hear other people's stories of what they would do for World of Tanks. But until then, I will see you comrades in the next video. Take care, guys.